Good morning. We're here to continue the conversation on breast cancer and young women. Today we have a personal friend that's been through this and has a remarkable story. So LeeAnne will be our guest, but it's so important that in the past we've talked about the issue of delayed diagnosis, and we even talked about Michelle, who at 22 found a lump and they just didn't make the diagnosis. Fortunately, in LeeAnne's case, we see the opposite end of the spectrum. She found a lump at an early age. She went through a lot of difficulties, but ultimately she did survive. And thank goodness you're here to talk with us.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you for coming down.
Love it. Thank you.
So tell us, LeeAnne, just kind of from the beginning, did you find a lump or did somebody else find a lump? Did the doctors address your issues? Did they not? What was your experience in the first phases of breast problems?
So I was eventually diagnosed at the age of 20, and I was actually hit in the chest with a tennis ball in college and didn't think much about it and ended up having a lump and ended up going back from Arizona to Colorado, and the doctor at the time said, just lay off the caffeine, don't worry about it, it's not a problem. So that was around Thanksgiving, and then when I went back around Christmas time, it had started to be infected. And so...
By infected, you mean red or swollen? Or?
Red, swollen, just, breast was swelling, things like that. So, back then, they really didn't know what to do with me. So we actually did switch doctors. I just told my mom I wasn't comfortable with that doctor. And, being raised Catholic, you don't talk about those things. So we really didn't. And so anyway, I went to see another doctor, and he said, we need to have a biopsy. And thankfully he did. I had a biopsy, and I believe it was in the next couple of days I had a lumpectomy, and I had a tumor about the size of a carrot growing through my back.
My gosh. Did they check out the lymph nodes, or were they okay?
They were okay, yes.
So despite what, you just are very, very lucky, because with that kind of a delay, a tumor can go from a early stage 1 that's highly curable to a later stage 3 or 4 where the odds are just stacked against you. And had that tumor spread out to the lymph nodes, it could have been really problematic. So since that time, you've done extremely well.
I have. And I think, as you know, I was diagnosed again when I was 36. I'd like to say that was a couple years ago, but it's now been almost 16 years. So I am really grateful, and that is really due to a mammogram. I would have never known had I not gotten my mammogram.
So you were 36. You're not supposed to start now, they say, until you're 50. So I don't know about getting it.
No. I think we should start at 25 for my experience, but I do believe we absolutely should be starting in their 30s, if not 40s for sure. I know way too many people who've been diagnosed.
We've certainly had a lot in the 30s, and a lot of times they typically present with lumps, and so women under 40 really don't have any options except self-exam.
Right.
And now these nonprofit organizations, some of the major ones are saying, it doesn't work, don't bother it. Well, how are you going to ever detect the cancer early? The doctors don't seem to be attuned to these changes. And I think in the book we talk about the importance of learning to do self-exam with confidence and do it regularly, and to report a change and hopefully find a doctor that will listen to you. But in your case, you went a step further and you got that. What age did you start doing your screening mammogram?
I was early. Since I had breast cancer early, I believe, it's kind of hard to remember, 30s for sure. And I went every 6 months for a long time to have mammograms. And then I, got to go every year. And I'm still a firm believer in every year. And I'm a firm believer in self-breast exam. Anybody who says that's not applicable, I don't believe at all. A, it's free. B, it saves lives. I just can't imagine why anyone would say you shouldn't be doing that. The amount of women, and men for that matter, that are diagnosed in their 40s, 50s, and obviously older, it just seems to me that a lot of people I know around my age and younger are being diagnosed with breast cancer. And it's sheer the message of mammograms yearly, awareness, breast exams. I can't say enough how important it is.
Well, I think you really, really make the point. And I think one of the things that people who are not promoting the early onset mammograms age 40 are saying, well, you are high risk because you've already been diagnosed with, well, of course you're higher risk, but the smart thing to do is to do that yearly mammogram. And then they caught, I take it, a pretty small cancer on the screening at age 36?
Yes. Yeah, it was very small.
So this was the same breast that you had to,
Yes.
this was a recurrence within that breast?
Yes.
So at that point, they had to do a mastectomy? Or?
Yeah. No, I did not. I still had radiation, and at that time they started to kind of come out with spot radiation. It wasn't real in effect. I mean, it's much better, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I am today. I think it's so critical to keep raising money for awareness and detection and education around medication and things like that. So yeah, I was detected, but no, I did not have a mastectomy. And looking back, that's always something I don't know. You know, should I have? Should I have not?
Well, I think you've won about 16 years. I mean, I think you've outpaced it. So I think your doctors were really forward thinkers once you found that group that was really into this, because that a lot of doctors would have gone directly to the mastectomy, I would say the majority. But first, you must have had favorable circumstances that allowed them to do it, but they also offered you that, and that shows that we're making such progress in breast care. It's so important that a woman who does have a breast problem finds somebody that can really knows what she's, you know, how to handle her problem. So in your case, the second time around, things went extremely well. You know, I really like your comments from a woman's point of view on the issue of self-exam. It's free, and the critics say, oh, well, it's going to cause a lot of anxiety, or people, you know, be overly diagnosed.
You wouldn't have anxiety, get told you have breast cancer. That's anxiety.
That's anxiety, so that's a great point. But I've seen women come to me 6 months after I've done a normal exam and a normal mammogram and say, gee, doc, I got something different in my breast. These are women that were really good at doing standard monthly self-exam. And I examine them and say, well, you have very bumpy breasts. I think that's probably going to be okay. I'm not sure why it's bothering you there, but let's just put an ultrasound on it. Put an ultrasound on it, and I found cancer is this big.
Wow.
And the critical thing about it is when I go back to try to examine, I still can't differentiate. The point is a woman can know her breasts better than a physician will ever know them. But it's very important that the woman starts her breast self-exam after her doctor has examined her. She knows that that's her baseline, that's her normal. So the issue is not to go looking for lumps. The issue is to learn the pattern of the normal. Once you know the normal and you do it regularly, if something grows in there, you never look for lumps. You just trust yourself. Oh, well, I'll just bring that to your attention. Now, not every doctor is going to respond, and so a woman has to have enough understanding of the issue. She said, well, there's a change there. I want you to do an ultrasound. If there's any question, I want a cone compression mammogram. And oh, by the way, you know, if you're not going to follow those instructions, I think I'll just go find another doctor, because that's what you should do. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of it. I can't say enough of the women I know who have found, you know, their cancer by self-examination and mammograms. So
I think we're preaching to the choir here. Clearly, this works. It saves lives. You're a great example of a 20-year-old girl who, in a way, was very lucky. You did find the lump. The doctor, not too surprisingly, kind of blew it off because you're just too young to get breast cancer.
Well, and I think, too, they still somewhat around that age group. My daughter, I always preach self-exams, right? And she had found a lump a year ago. She's now 22. And same thing. It's the importance of that. She would have never found it. Yes, it was benign, but the point is she found it, and who knows what it could have grown to. And I just think women at any age, it doesn't matter. We have to be educating and awareness.
And we know that the majority of them in young women are going to be not be cancer. But you go in and you do an ultrasound. If there's a question, you can do a needle core biopsy. You don't have to take them all to surgery. In fact, we don't take a lot of them to surgery. But then you have the satisfaction of, or the comfort of knowing it's all okay. But some of these, there's just no way of knowing. They can get a new lump just like you did, and you're the exception to the rule. But it's not that hard to sort it out. And so if a woman's empowered, she finds a lump, she knows what to do. If the doctor doesn't listen, she finds a doctor that does listen. You can sort these things out, but don't let them say you're too young and don't worry about it because it doesn't run in your family, or you're just your hormones, forget about it.
Right? No way. No way. I would never say that, and don't believe it.
So thank you. This has been, great talking to you. LeeAnne's a personal friend. She's on our board of the Be Aware Foundation. She's a major advocate for women's health issues. And she's dedicated a lot of her time and energy and expertise to try to get the word out, to try to save lives. And she's done an incredible job. She's really a person that has a great story to tell. I hope the listeners the viewers have had a chance to really appreciate that. If there's questions, there's going to be an option for you to put those in on our website, so we'll have that information for you in the future.